We had a client that we worked with, and she was really struggling with profitability. She kept raising tuition. She actually did 3 tuition increases within a 15-month cycle, and she still could not catch up. So I helped her work with our 6 money leaks in schools, and she only used 3 of the 6 money leaks and cut her expenses by 50%. 50. She did not fire anyone. She did not slash any of her programs, and she did not work more hours. Again, the 6 money leaks are not hacks or spreadsheets. These are patterns. They are small decisions that feel so normal that your school does, but they quietly drain your school's profit. So if you've ever wondered why you're working so hard, but still not seeing the return, this is your first step to clarity. Click the link in the show notes and find out what it's actually costing you. Welcome to the Schools of Excellence podcast, a place for insightful conversations about building sustainable schools of excellence. Join me each week as we explore the importance of leading with your values, creating impact, and leaving a lasting legacy. My goal on the show is to provide you with clarity, elevate your mindset, and equip you with practical strategies and inspiration. I'm Chanie, a proud mother of 4, a former New Yorker, now savoring sunny Florida vibes. With a professional journey spanning 18 years across all levels of school leadership, I bring nuanced insight that delve into the intricate details of running a center, as well as the broader visionary aspects of leadership. Thank you for joining me for this conversation. Let's build a legacy of excellence together. Welcome back to the Schools of Excellence podcast. Today's conversation is one that many of you ask on a consistent basis. How do I get out of the day-to-day? So it's a question that I hear at least once a week, definitely when I go to events or speak with leaders in person. How do I get out of the day-to-day? So the first thing that we want to understand, and today's conversation is really going to be about the understanding of it, contextualizing it, and then the journey to get out of it. The first step is really understanding the trap of day-to-day management, right? How do I know if I'm even in the trap of day-to-day management? Now, if you click the link in the show notes, I created a 10-question quick little quiz that can help you assess how entrenched you are in the day-to-day. So definitely go check that out. But let's get started with just some signs that you know that you're stuck in the day-to-day. So the first sign is the constant firefighting. You come up with a plan, but before you know it, you're dealing with a parent, a discipline issue, a facility problem, a leadership problem, the list goes on. And what happens is your to-do list, your calendar, everything is forgotten in the chaos. The second sign that you're trapped in the day-to-day is the inability to delegate effectively. You find yourself doing tasks that should be handled by others, and you don't have the time to train or trust the process of delegation. The third sign that you're trapped in the day-to-day is you're overwhelmed by administrative tasks, paperwork, emails, reports. They pile up and they eat your lunch. They eat all the time that you need to spend on leadership and strategic thinking. And finally, and perhaps probably the most critically, when you're trapped in the day-to-day, you're neglecting long-term planning and strategic thinking. You really know that you need to be focusing on big picture work, and you want to take time to plan what will the school look like in 3 to 5 years from now, but you just don't have the time to do it. And all of this sounds really familiar. I know that you're nodding your head. And it's so common that I really started to call it the cycle of operational quicksand. And the cycle of operational quicksand is, I'm going to paint this visual for you here, okay? It starts when an urgent task arise. So imagine a stack of papers piling up on your desk or the phone ringing off the hook, okay? This leads to immediate action. You rush from one task to the other, trying to multitask your way throughout the entire day. While you're multitasking, as a result of that, you neglect strategic work. So visualize your calendar with all those big picture tasks. All of them are pushed off to next week. Next week, it's going to be quiet. Next week, I'm going to do it. That leads to staff dependency. So staff dependency starts to increase because your team members constantly are at your door, needing decisions, needing guidance on every single thing. That leads to leader burnout. You feel exhausted. Your energy is depleted like a battery icon on red, right? Either this is you or your director. That leads to lack of systems. Your once organized desk is a mess. Your ideas and tasks are scattered like puzzle pieces. And finally, you come back to where you started, where you have more fires to put out. Small flames pop up all the time, demanding your immediate attention. And so the cycle continues, pulling you deeper and deeper into the quicksand of the day-to-day operations. Okay. Now, you might hear this and say, one day I'm going to get out of this. One day I'm going to be able to figure this out. And what I need to tell you is that it's not one day. Your calendar can be your lifeline out of the quicksand. And so in the rest of today's episode, I'm really going to be exploring with you and showing you how your calendar is not just a scheduling tool. It is a powerful tool for goal alignment action. And we're really going to discuss how we break the cycle, how you delegate effectively, and how you carve out time for strategic work so you can get out of the day to day. Okay. So stay with me here. Why do school leaders get stuck? Okay. Why do we even find ourselves in the day to day to begin with? If we have a team and we're staffed appropriately and we have admin and leadership, why are we getting stuck? So there's a couple of reasons. I'll share a couple with you here today. The first is we get stuck in I could do it myself syndrome, right? This is when you believe no one can handle the task as good as yourself. Writing that email, dealing with the sensitive child issue, sensitive parent issue, you think it's quicker if I do it myself. And it is quicker if you do it yourself, but you don't build capacity in your team. And so you build staff dependency. It's really important to understand the consequences of our actions, right? The second reason why leaders find themselves stuck in the day to day is the fear of losing control, because delegating means letting go. And what if something goes wrong? What if it's not done exactly the way you want it to be? And the fear keeps you micromanaging and overly involved in day-to-day tasks. And I talk about this a lot in our Schools of Excellence program. Is delegation is not just about giving the task to the other person. It's understanding the difference between a true mistake and something that needs like attention, and a misdemeanor of like, okay, they missed the ball this time. And I find a lot of young directors or young leaders get very stuck in not understanding the discernment between a mistake and a misdemeanor. And what happens is that they overly criticize and overly give feedback on things that actually should be let go of and should be overlooked, because it's not that big a deal. The other component of why we have leaders get stuck and trapped in the day to day is the guilt factor. A lot of leaders feel guilty about not being as hands on as they used to be when they first started a company. I hear this all the time. I should be in the classrooms more. I should be more visible. The guilt drives you to take on tasks that are horrible use of your leadership time. And the fourth thing is lack of trust in your team members. You might have been burned before. You might have trust issues with your team. Perhaps you invested a lot of time in developing your team and then they left. And what happens is you're like, I'm just going to hold this. And lastly, and what I see more often than not is leaders get stuck because of unclear priorities and goals. And I say this all the time when our leaders join, there's really only 4 or 5 goals that you could ever be working on inside of your center. And I teach this inside of our Schools of Excellence program, because when we don't have clarity on what our actual priorities are, everything is urgent. You end up reacting to whatever comes to your desk rather consistently and proactively focusing on what truly matters. And so you're constantly stuck in the day to day because you don't understand that this doesn't need to happen this week. It can happen in a week from now, in a month from now, in 3 months from now. So you're always stuck in this cycle of trying to catch up or trying to get ahead or trying to push forward, when really that's not the use of your time right now. The use of your time right now needs to be on this leadership goal, and you can't prioritize it. So I want to share with you just a quick personal story. Very early on in my career, when I was working in school leadership, I prided myself on always being available to my staff all the time. My door was always open. And I really thought that that's what made me a very good leader. And one time I had a trusted colleague, and she came into my school and she said, "Honey, when do you have time to think?" And I remember like looking at her like, what? Like, I need thinking time? I was so busy responding to every issue. I had no time for strategic planning, for reflection, for big picture thinking that my school really needed from me. And it was such a wake up call. And I really created so many systems that I teach. Episode 4 on the podcast is the myth of open door policy. I train and coach on this all the time because I was stuck in that day-to-day management, falling into the trap that we just discussed because I thought I was irreplaceable. I was afraid to let go of all these things. I was guilty. I felt guilty for not being available 24/7. And most importantly, I did not develop the systems needed to operate my school differently. And that was the major shift in how I approach leadership. And I really began to start to use my calendar so intentionally, blocking out time for strategic work, empowering my team to handle more. And not only did I become more an effective leader, but my team grew stronger. And I moved this not just from when I was running schools, but now when I run my company, I go away every 90 days for 2 or 3 days just for strategic work. Every single week on my calendar, there's a block of time for big picture thinking. Every morning, I have a meeting with myself. One of the episodes on this podcast is how to have a 15-minute meeting with yourself every morning. I meet with myself every morning, not just with my team. I meet with myself. And if you recognize yourself in these traps, awareness is the first step to change, right? It's the first step to recognizing that there is a different way. I can use my calendar as a powerful tool to break free from these patterns and align my daily actions with my most important goals. So let's talk about the impact on your school growth and personal burnout, right? When leaders are constantly putting out fires, you will see stagnation in school development. You might keep things running and maintaining, right? But you're not moving forward. And so what happens is you think everything's okay, like my wait list is fine and my enrollment's okay and all these things are good. And then all of a sudden, your wait list gets wiped out. All of a sudden, 10 parents leave. And you're like, 1 second, I thought we were doing okay. But the thing is that you can't just ride maintenance. You have to be looking at implementing new programs, improving existing ones, fostering a culture of continuous improvement. You can't do these things when you're just keeping your head above water. The other massive ripple effect of staying in the day to day is you miss opportunities for innovation. Our educational world is constantly evolving. And if you're stuck in the day to day, you do not have time or mental space to explore new ideas, to implement what's next, to have a deep conversation with a mentor or colleagues. And so what happens is your school is constantly at risk of falling behind rather than being the leader and the Sherpa inside of your community. And again, it's not just that your school is suffering when you're in the day to day. You, as a leader, when you are constantly juggling urgent tasks, it leads to decreased job satisfaction. What happens is you spend your days on admin tasks and putting out fires, and you're like, I didn't sign up for this. And then what happens is you try to mask your dissatisfaction, but that goes hand in hand with increased stress because you're always on, you're always available, you're always responding, you're always responsible. And no human can always be on, always available, always responding, always responsible. It's too much. And so that leads you to exhaustion, emotional fatigue, and you start questioning your career choices. This is why we are seeing so many mass exoduses of childcare leaders selling their centers, closing down their businesses, going out of business. And a lot of that starts with what I was just saying is the trap of the day to day. And I'm telling you, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, how do you know what's happening in my center? It's because I'm talking to leaders all the time. And our company has created infrastructure and systems and support to help leaders understand how to pull out of this. And I would really encourage you to apply. The link is in the show notes and you can apply and you can have a conversation with our admissions advisor to really see if this is a good fit for you. So now, before we go into like some mindset shifts here, I want to remind you again, we have a quiz in the show notes here. How entrenched are you in the day-to-day operations? So I'm just going to read some of those questions. And then, of course, please take time to download it because it's just a great self-assessment. So it's 10 questions. How often do you find yourself handling tasks that could be done by someone else on your team? And then you'll give an answer. In a typical week, how much time do you spend on strategic planning and big picture thinking? How frequently do you miss or reschedule meetings due to putting a fire out? When was the last time you took a full day to work on school long-term projects without interruptions? So you took a full day where you were able to work on long-term goals without any interruptions. When was the last time you were able to do that? How often do you check or respond to emails outside of work hours? In the past month, how many times have you stayed late at work to complete tasks? How comfortable do you feel delegating important projects to your team? How often do you find yourself involved in resolving minor conflicts or issues among staff, children, or families? When was the last time you engaged in professional development or learning just for your leadership skills? And lastly, how frequently do you feel overwhelmed by your to do list? And here's the thing, when you take this quiz and you see where you score, it is going to give you so much clarity of, wow, I really am stuck in the day to day. I really am stuck in this trap. How do I get out of that? The first step is awareness, right? You're recognizing that you're stuck. And then the next step is, who's going to support me? Where do I find help, coaching, mentoring, and the right systems and frameworks that I can plug myself and my entire school into so that we can get out of this trap? And that's why I built the Schools of Excellence program, to help leaders understand how to get out of the day-to-day trap and move into being a true leader. And so that brings me into this mindset shift here that I want to talk about, shifting from the doer to the leader. Okay. So let's start with the characteristics of a doer mindset. First and foremost, a doer has a task oriented focus. They're all about checking items off their to do list. What do I need to do today? Is their constant question. And while it leads to a sense of accomplishment and a big dopamine hit, it often means the forest for the trees, right? It often means that you're constantly missing the forest for the trees. You see all the trees, but you do not understand how to look at the forest. A doer mindset places a heavy emphasis on personal productivity. They are constantly measuring their worth by how much they got done that day. I answered 50 emails. I attended 3 meetings. I solved 2 student issues today. I responded to 4 parent emails. That is the success of a doer. Their focus is constantly on personal output, and it leads to tendencies to micromanage. Doers want to ensure that everything is done right, which usually means done their way. They hover over their team. They're checking. They're double checking. Delegation is a giant challenge for doers. They believe that it's quicker and easier to do things themselves. By the time I explain it, I could have done it myself. And doers measure success based on personal output. At the end of the day, they say, what did I accomplish, right? It's not what did the school accomplish today, it's what did I do today? And finally, doers tend to engage in short term reactive thinking. They're phenomenal at putting out fires, okay? But they struggle with fire prevention. They are so busy responding to what's happening now, they have basically no time to plan for the future. Those are the characteristics of a doer. And you might see yourself in some of these things like, wow, I really am a doer. Now, the thing is that being a doer, I'm not shaming doers. It's, we need doers on the team. But if you're the leader and the owner, you cannot be the doer. You need to be the leader. A leader has a vision oriented focus, right? Rather than asking what needs to be done today, right? They're checking, what are today's actions aligned with the long term vision of the school, right? Again, are today's actions aligned with long-term vision of the school? This is why we need calendar-based management, calendar-based role, which I'm going to be recording some episodes on that. And this is what I specifically and target teach inside of Schools of Excellence, because it's so easy to say, oh, I want to get out of the day-to-day. Here's how to do it. Stop putting out fires and start asking different questions. This is our superpower. My superpower in Schools of Excellence superpower is the right questions. Leaders emphasize team productivity and growth. They know that their success is multiplied by others. So instead of trying to do everything themselves, they focus on how to make their entire team more effective. Leaders invest time, so their calendars show time to develop their team members' skills and confidence. Those are the blocks of time on their calendar, right? Delegation is the hallmark of a leader's mindset. They understand that delegation is not about offloading work. It's about matching tasks to strength and developing team members. They measure success on organizational outcomes. At the end of the day, they don't ask, what did I accomplish today? They're asking, did the company move closer to the goals? Did the company move closer to our goals? Well, there's a very easy way to measure that. You look at your entire leadership team's calendars and you look, were their actions today aligned with the long-term goals? This is why we started doing in our company calendar audits. This is a new feature that we're rolling out inside of Schools of Excellence now, where we are auditing. I am personally auditing the calendars of the leaders to assess, are their actions daily, weekly, monthly aligned with what they say the goals of the company are? And when you learn how to do this skill, you're doing calendar-based management, not micromanagement. It's calendar-based performance. That's what you want, because here's the thing. Your leaders will tell you, like, till you're blue in the face, I didn't have time, someone called out, someone was sick, blah, blah, blah. There's always going to be a reason. If it's in your calendar, it gets done. It gets done. They do not respond to what's happening now. Leaders anticipate future challenges. They plan for next month, for next year, and beyond, right? So being stuck in the day to day pushes you into a doer mindset. It pushes you constantly back into there. And shifting from doer to leader, it's possible to shift this mindset. And the way that you do it is you start with the calendar. It's a powerful tool in making this shift. That's how you actually do it. That's why we obsess over this in schools of excellence, is really understanding how to get control over the calendar. So the last part here that I want to kind of round up today's episode is the strategies for working smarter. So I hear this all the time. Work smarter, not harder. Okay. I don't think 90% of leaders have absolutely no idea what that actually means inside of your calendar. It's a great euphemism. It's a great platitude. What does it actually mean? Well, let's unpack that. Okay. It's such an abstract concept if you don't have concrete examples, and that's what I want to give you here today. What does a working harder calendar look like? A working hard calendar is packed with back-to-back meetings. There are short, fragmented blocks of time, or barely any blocks of time. There are very few or no breaks at all. There is reactive time for putting out fires. There's basically no time for strategic planning. And work is typically spilling into evenings, weekends, and vacations. That is the definition of a work harder calendar. Okay. So when people say things like, I want to learn how to work smarter, so I need systems. Oh my God. The next person who says that to me, like, just stop. It's not, I need to work smarter, so I need better systems. No, you need to start with your calendar, my love. Your calendar is a work harder calendar. How do you make a work smarter calendar? Then I'll show you how to create systems. What is a work smarter calendar? A work smarter calendar has time blocks. It has 2 to 3 hours, large blocks of time that are focused on strategic work. They have designated office hours for staff and for parents. They have buffer time, typically 15 to 30-minute gaps between meetings. So there's time for reflection, for preparation, or the unexpected issues that come up. They have regular strategic planning blocks. They have monthly half days or full days for in-depth strategy with their leadership team. They have delegation time on their calendar. They have daily 30-minute blocks of time where they are teaching and training and delegating responsibilities. This is what a work smarter calendar looks like. It's not, I need to create systems. What does that even mean? I need to delegate. Okay, what does that look like? If you're telling me you have a need that you need to delegate, now let's take your calendar and turn it into a work smarter calendar, which means we need to actually make time on your calendar to delegate. A work smarter calendar has team development slots. There are regular slots for mentoring, for coaching, key staff members that you want to support and invest in for promotion. There are personal wellness blocks. There's scheduled lunch breaks. There's time for exercise. There's time for mindfulness. This is what a work smarter calendar looks like. There are blocks of time for communication. There's designated time to answer emails, to answer phone calls, instead of constantly being interrupted and constantly being available. A work smarter calendar has boundaries. There's a clear start to the day, a clear end to the day. They have proactive problem solving times where they're regularly meeting with staff to anticipate and prevent issues. And they have community engagement. They have regular scheduled times to build relationships with stakeholders, not just when it's crisis management. And here's the thing, this is just like the tip of the iceberg. Like, this is what I teach extensively inside of our Schools of Excellence program. How do you design a leader's calendar? What should the calendar of an owner look like, of a director, of an assistant director, of a admin assistant, of a curriculum advisor, of an HR specialist, of a staffing specialist, of lead teachers, of mentor teachers, of assistant teachers, of openers, closers? It's all calendar, guys. It is all calendar. You want a team that works smarter, you need to learn how to create a work smarter calendar. Once you know how to do that, then you can mentor and get your entire team to create work smarter calendars. That's the thing that you really, really need to understand as you're trying to learn how to get out of the day-to-day. Okay, so let's wrap things up, okay? 3 things that you can do to get out of the day-to-day. Number 1, implement strategic time blocking. So your first action item is, I want you to look at your calendar. If you don't have a calendar yet, that's fine. Again, click the link in the show notes. You can apply. You and I can have a conversation. We can see if you're a good fit and we can help you design your calendar. But if you do have a calendar and you want to get started with this, is schedule 1 hour block of time for focused high level tasks, right? Just set aside a block of time that says, this is my strategic thinking time. This is a time where my phone is on airplane mode, all the tabs are closed on my computer, my door is shut, and I am going to be doing just focused work. It ensures that critical strategic work never gets overshadowed by your daily operations. That's your first action item. And then again, inside of our Schools of Excellence program, this is where we teach you how to set up office hours, how to create 90-minute blocks of time for long-term planning, how to do all of these things. So that's the first thing you can do. The second thing you can do is developing a robust delegation system. Okay, so I'm giving you 3 different ideas. By all means, do not do all 3. You can pick, right? So how do we start with a delegation system? Identify 2 tasks that you can delegate to a team member. Okay, take 2 tasks that you know you want to delegate. Match the task with the appropriate team member based on their skill set, their development needs. Like, okay, I know that they can do that. Then I want you to open your calendar and schedule a daily 30-minute block where you are going to assign and teach this person how to own this task, not how to do the task. They're not a doer. How to lead this task, which means they're going to learn how to think through the task, how to anticipate issues around the task, and they're going to own the decisions around this task, because whoever owns the decision owns the consequence. They are going to learn how to own it. In those 30-minute blocks, you're going to learn how to create clear guidelines and expectations for that delegated task. And so by the end of the month, you will have freed up time for leadership activities, because now those tasks are no longer on your plate. The third idea that you could do to get out of the day-to-day is establish a regular review and adjustment routine. What do I mean by that? Well, set up a weekly review session where you are just being reflective on progress, on challenges, on priorities. So that means a 60-minute block once a week, typically on Friday or Thursday, where you're just looking at what worked, what didn't work in my time management, what worked in my delegation efforts, what didn't work. Are there any, identify any tasks or issues where you're like, you know what? I really thought this person would be a great fit for it, but I'm seeing a ton of resistance and I don't know that she's coachable right now. Let me actually see if I want to pick someone else to take this on, right? And so what happens is it helps you maintain focus on leadership priorities and ensures that you do not slide back into operational tasks, right? This is what it means to trust the process. Now, what happens is why so many leaders don't end up making this weekly review is like, I don't have time. I just needed to take care of payroll. I needed to do something. I know you're never going to have time. It's like I was listening to a podcast episode. Mayor and I were listening to this financial podcast episode. It was like a Q&A, and there was several different people kept bringing up the same question of like, how do I save if I'm living paycheck to paycheck? Like, how can I possibly save even $50 a month or $10 a month if I'm literally living paycheck to paycheck? And it was just really fascinating to hear him say again and again, saving is a muscle. It's a muscle. It's not about how much money you can save or how much money you're making. Because he's like, even if you're making $250,000 more a year than you're making now, if you don't build your savings muscle, you will not be able to save even when you're making $1 million a year. You won't be able to save. Savings is a muscle. And I'll go further to say that giving charity and paying back is also a muscle. When Mayor and I were up to our eyeballs in debt, we still gave charity. We still paid it forward, even when we had so little, because we believe in paying back. And it was a muscle that we kept flexing. And eventually when God blessed us and we were making abundance and we didn't need every single penny that we were making, we dramatically increased our charitable giving, and that continued to increase. And our savings muscle also we built even when we were barely making any money, and eventually when we started to make more, we were able to dramatically increase the amount of money that we were saving. And so why am I bringing this up? Because so many of you understand the financial components, right? You're like, of course savings is a muscle, of course charitable contributions is a muscle. It's not about how much you save, it's just the fact that you're putting something aside. Let me tell you something. Calendar management and leadership is a muscle. There is no time that you're ever going to be like, oh, it was such a free week this week. I had all the time in the world. Now I'm going to be ready to do some reviews. Now I can delegate. Now I can do this. Like, you are laughing out loud in your car right now, or your dishes, whatever you're doing while you're listening to me, you're cracking up, because there's no such a thing, right? Just like there's no such a thing as a time when a family is going to be like, yes, now we can save. No, if you've never saved until now, you haven't built that muscle. You'll never be able to save. It's not, oh, now we can give back and give charity. No, if you've never given charity before, you're not going going to give charity now all of a sudden. It's a muscle, it's a mindset, it's a value system. And so the same thing is with your calendar. If you want to learn how to get out of the day to day, if you want to learn how to work smarter, not harder, you need to build the calendar muscle. And this is why I'm obsessed with this. This is why I teach this in our Schools of Excellence program. This is why our content, our training, our mentoring, our coaching, the calendar audits that we do, everything surrounds us consistently, because this is where it's at. Your calendar is the battlefield that your school's success lives and dies on, period. It lives and dies by the success of your calendar, your ability to be strategic, to be focused, to be intentional. So I hope today's conversation was super valuable to you, gave you a lot of insight into how to get out of the day-to-day. Remember, in the show notes, we have our quiz, which will give you a diagnostic tool of how entrenched are you in the day-to-day, and also the link in the show notes to apply for our Schools of Excellence program. You'll get on a call with myself, our admissions advisor, to see if it's a good fit. We'd love to have you join us for next 90 days. We're doing just a phenomenal experience all around calendar, profit, enrollment, optimization, and systems. Thanks so much for joining me. If you are loving the Schools of Excellence podcast and have gotten any value out of it for your school, I would love if you can do two things for me. One, subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. And two, can you please leave us a review? Reviews help other school leaders know that this is the place to learn how to build a school of excellence. And I would be so grateful if you can do that for us. Your help and support makes this show to be able to be listened by the thousands of other school leaders all around the world. Thanks so much for listening, for giving us your time and attention each and every week, and I appreciate that you have joined us. If your accountant has ever told you to cut back on professional development or slash your teacher appreciation budget or your staff development budget just so you could stay afloat, or has told you, hey, you probably can't go invest in that program, please listen. The problem is not that you're spending too much money on your people or yourself or your investment or your support system. It's that your school has invisible money leaks that are draining your profit, leaks that no spreadsheet will ever catch or accountant. So I created the 6 money leaks of schools that show you the 6 core areas that schools lose money every single month without realizing it. If you close even one of them, your profits will start to soar without sacrificing your team. Go get it now and stop blaming the things that are actually building your school.